So, I think it's day 13 of working on this new account. Um, there's been a lot happen in 13 days. I don't know if it's because Mercury Gatorade or the Lionsgate portal. I don't know. I don't know. One thing I do know is our generation, and this is not me being a crybaby at all. No. Our generation, um, I'll be 40 this year, has been specifically engineered for mass trauma, y'all. I say that because our generation was the one where we had access to TV uncensored, the internet uncensored to the degrees, and from the time I can remember, there have been shit with kids going on. From the Satanic Panic to the JonBenet Ramsey situation, Heaven's Gate, which wasn't necessarily children but mass trauma, Oklahoma City bombing, Waco, Ruby Ridge, let's see, Columbine, 9/11, the war in Iraq, all of it, Epstein, all of it. Again, I don't say that to cry. I say that like it's a pattern that I recognize, and I hate it. I hate it because I see the monster that it creates, and specifically, I'll talk about the content creator sphere, because if you follow this situation or this scene, you know just in the last 2 weeks that there have been a whole lot of stuff go on, and there's been self-harm, there's been mental health issues, there's been a case where a gentleman unalived himself, and I'm not going to say any of these creators' names or anything like that. You know what I'm talking about. But it all hit really, really fast, and it was like a whirlwind, and it seemed to target self-harm, unaliving oneself, or as I like to call it, taking yourself out to dinner. But there's a lot of questions, and we've had a lot of questions for a long time, and we don't get no answers, it seems like. And I'm not here to provide us with answers, any of them, because I don't know. I am just a freaking middle-aged dude that grew up in the Appalachians, and I have been able to see and experience some pretty wild happenings. But when you have social media presence and you have people able to connect in an instant and then share ideas, that's kind of dangerous in a couple ways, good or bad. A lot of it depends on intention from every party. But in that, we know that the books, the Bibles, a lot of that stuff is all open source. So that's not necessarily what I think did it. I don't think it was all the energy stuff. I do believe that it was a combination of all of that, the ability to do it or fund it, and then people of like minds getting together and wanting to see real change for the everyday person. And then that kind of sucks, because it makes it feel like we're not supposed to prevail or get ahead or any of that. And that's not the case. I have lived through a bunch of situations where I can say that that's not the case, and I'm so grateful that it's not the case. But in doing that, as somebody who puts content on the internet and dialogues a lot and catalogs a lot of just everyday stuff, I have to remember to love the people around me, to embrace them, and to let them know my real intentions, and to remove the speculation from that for them. And that's one reason I hadn't really said a lot about it, because with all of it, there was a whole lot of speculation on every case. Again, not going to say any of the names, but there's all this speculation in left field, right field, and it just sucked. And it sucked to have to see it and to know that people were really affected by it. I have the luxury of rebuilding right now, and I can see the differences in people from 5 years ago to where content creation was like a hobby thing. If you fished, it wasn't necessarily your life as your content. But that's what a lot of people have made it. And a lot of people are really able to get themselves exposed. And I think that's a very, very cool tool. So, let me introduce you to this side of it. I'm Adam. I'm rebuilding from a profile that had 14K and was already monetized to having my monetization and my recommendations taken away for a stupid comment that I made. And it was my fault. Lesson learned. In that, free speech ain't free, y'all. And censorship is real. Whether what we say can be taken as a joke or in a serious fashion, 9 times out of 10 it gets taken in a serious fashion first. And that's unfortunate. But for my situation, it was unfortunate. You know, some people don't care. But here's what I can tell you from that time to now. Spammy behavior is spammy behavior. Be courteous. When people engage with you, engage with them. If people engage with your content, engage with them. The really cool thing about the content creation part for me is this is the most that I've talked to people outside of like my house, my family, and like a AA building, or my AA family that I've built over the years. It's very small, very, very small circle. So this has allowed me to express myself and to get thoughts out of my head that I would normally let tumble around way too much. And people give me feedback or people don't give me feedback, and that's whatever. I can tell you that it doesn't help me right now, because I can't get stars, which is a tool that most content creators get like penny on the dollar for. I don't even know how much it is, but it's a small way that we like send each other love back and forth, or you can send us love back and forth or support. When it goes to the ability of being monetized, I can't say, hey y'all, go look at my last photo and tell me what you think. That's called phishing, and that it pulls out what Facebook or Meta describes as inauthentic engagement. So I won't be doing a whole lot of that, like go look at my page or nothing like that. I'm just gonna post, and I hope that you'll support me and know that I'll support you back. Because I think we can all do this in one way or another. I think we can all make a difference in the world that we are directly in contact with. And that's all we can do. That's really all we can do. If I can make somebody on here smile or say something that uplifts somebody, that's great. But I also have to do that in my personal life, and I have to do that to the people that I directly affect, or that it's in vain. So here's what I need everybody to do. There's these buttons over here. One of them is the like button, which they don't like the blue thumb. They don't like it. Meta does not like it. You can give them any kind of reaction but a blue thumb. They hate it. You can engage, which is commenting or starting a conversation off of what was said, yaka yaka. Everybody gets what that is. And that's how creators are paid, is through how much their content is seen and how much interaction or engagement they get off of it. So that's kind of how you help support other content creators, or if you just know people that are doing this in your day-to-day world, or you're like, oh shoot, they've got a Facebook account that, and you know them, like, support them. Like, they're probably trying to support their family. They're probably looking at alternate means to keep their wife from having to go to work. They're probably looking at other means to show their kids some freedom, in a sense that you can dictate your time and it still have value to you and to other people. Not to be confused with your worth being tied up with that, because that is not what I'm saying. But in this day and age, it feels like we need to be making money when we were asleep 15 years ago. And this is a way for us to be exposed and to really reach other people and to tell our story. Because that's all we got is our story. And when we leave this world, what we did with it. So, in that, if you'll hit those buttons, if you'll hit that follow button, and then the engage button, and then the most important one for me right now, because I'm not monetized, is the share button. The more you share it, the more people see my content, which enables me to get more follows, to get more. The human mind, it's freaking wild. The share button. Even if you just hit copy link and don't share it to a group or to another person or whatever, it still flags that as to push the content. And then if you hit the save button, the little ribbon at the bottom, that also pushes the content. So now that you kind of have that information and you kind of know where I'm going, my original goal was 30,000 by the end of the year. I started my professional dashboard in February and had 14,000 when I lost my monetization. So I really need your help rebuilding. The more y'all rebuild with me, the faster that I can get remonetized. Then I can maybe lighten my wife's brain when she has surgery, or when the freaking kids are having to drive and she's not able to drive. Because I'm just a real dude. I'm a dad. We have 3 children between me and my wife originally. Now, as of now, we have adopted 5 teenagers from defects care, or from care of the state of other people, because again, that has been something that I've been allowed to do. I've been allowed to catch young adults in a time where I needed to be caught, and my oldest son just graduated high school. 4 of these kids are set to graduate high school this year. It's wild, y'all. And that's all from 10 years ago. I wasn't sober. 10 years ago, I didn't have the relationship that I have with my biological child, much less any of the other children in my life or young adults. So, help me make a difference, y'all. Remember, follow, no blue thumb, heart, maybe, or a giggle. If you want to engage, you can. I'm not going to say, hey, come and like all my stuff. But right now, I will ask that you share it and try and help me get a little bit of exposure. That way I can rebuild. I'm going to be probably putting this on different platforms, definitely, just because I don't want to limit myself to one platform and something like being demonetized happen. So this video, or segments of this video, will go out on different platforms. Probably the whole video will go on YouTube. I think I've got several of my long form videos on YouTube, just rantings of me and myself. To my 7 YouTube subscribers, I don't know who y'all are yet, but freaking thank you. And I'll definitely be making sure to post more on there, because I didn't know that till the other day. To everybody on the other platforms, I'll post like my TikTok and the comments. That's what I meant to say. In the comments on Meta, or I'll post my Facebook in the comments on TikTok. I'll probably link all of that information on YouTube and go from there. This was a really long video, but can't see it real good because it's dark, but a friend of mine's wife gave me this piece of copper, and I think she could tell I was having some difficulties with Mercury Gatorade or whatever celestial event is going on, so she hooked me up with this little piece of copper. So I figured I would do what any good alchemist does and make me a little conductor, make it as above, so below. Get out of here if I want to ground, or if I want to bring it in, you know. Just a little Appalachian alchemy tip for you. If you're ever feeling your frequency at all, then just go get you a little copper ring. Probably won't be real comfortable. You can probably maneuver it real good, but yeah, you're welcome. As above, so below. Freaking idiot. That was a good one. You like that? Now, let's get into the meat of this, y'all. So I don't even want to because, again, some of it like speculation. But actually, this isn't speculation. I'll get to the speculation part. This book was one of my very favorite books in my young adult endeavors. And the first time I read it out of parody, and somebody gave it to me as a gift, and I didn't realize that that was like the character that I was living out. There's been a lot of talk about like old books and like old Bibles and stuff like that, like things that could be hidden in there, and I don't know. I'm not going to speculate what's in this Bible or that Bible, or if something was revised. Like, I'm sure it was. I mean, I can look at the different versions of the Bible and tell you that it's been revised, y'all. But when I read this book initially, it wasn't. It was a wake-up call to a world that I really hadn't been privy to. But I started to dig into like child trafficking and things like that, because at that time there were things that were coming out that people were like, no way, that's ludicrous, whatever. And this is a long time ago. But this book was not written in 1870 or nothing like that. See, where's the copyright? 2003. This book was written in 2003. And I'm not going to read everything out of it. I went through here and I probably went back through the first like 100 pages and I started highlighting stuff. The name of this book is Kingdom of Fear, and it's by Hunter S. Thompson. The speculation part is, if you dig into like conspiracy stuff, material, look up the Franklin conspiracy. But I have found different things to where he was tied to some stuff on the not so good side of the outlaw movement that we would like to think. And then I read this book and it just blew my mind that some of this shit was in print. So before we even get to chapter 1, it's memo from the sports desk, and this is closer to the end of it, but it says, the real power in America is held by a fast emerging new oligarchy of pimps and preachers who see no need for democracy or fairness or even trees, except maybe the ones in their own yards, and they don't mind admitting it. They worship money and power and death. Their ideal solution to all the nation's problems would be another 100-year war. Coming of an age in a fascist police state will not be a barrel of fun for anybody, much less for people like me, who are not inclined to suffer Nazis gladly, and feel only contempt for the cowardly flag suckers who would gladly give up their outdated freedom to live for the mess of pottage they have been conned into believing will be freedom from fear. Ho, ho, ho. Let's not get carried away here. Freedom was yesterday in this country. Its value has been discounted. The only freedom we truly crave today is a freedom from dumbness. Nothing else matters. Again, I didn't get super far in here. Page 11. The only things I've ever been arrested for, it turns out, are things I didn't do. All the crimes I really committed were things that were usually an accident. Every time they got me, I happened to be in the wrong place and too enthusiastic. It was just the general feeling that I shouldn't be allowed to get away with it. It may be that every culture needs an outlaw god of some kind, and maybe this time around I'm it. Who knows? I haven't studied it. But the idea just came to me in a flash as I read Peter Whitmer's article about me in the January-February 1984 Sunday Review. I think of Lano, Robin Hood, and Bacchus, and the Greeks with their fat young boys, and the Irish with their frantic drunken worship of doomed heroes. Jesus, I'll bet that even the Swedes have some kind of outlaw god. But there is no mention of good outlaws in the Holy Bible. I think mainly because of the church and all of the spin-offs that believe in total punishment for all sinners. The Bible makes no exceptions for good-hearted social outlaws. They are all cast into a lake of fire. Punishment. Fuck those people. Page 12. In any case, we soon learn that the new plan just in from Washington is to keep weirdos, foreigners, and other dangerous bad apples out of national forests in the nation, unless they set fires and spread anthrax or anything else that swarthy terrorists are wont to do. They are evil, they are savage, and they must be arrested before they set fire to the whole goddamn country. I have never had any special fear of foreigners myself, but I recognize a nationwide nervous breakdown when I see one. It is embarrassing for openers, and it sucks. Page 14. Weird things happen when you get whacked by serious lightning. Many years ago, 19 members of the Strange family in North Carolina were struck at the same instant when they all leaned against a chain-link fence at a July 4th fireworks display. They all survived, but none prospered. It was like some horrible, merciless coincidence out of the Old Testament, or extremely bad karma to millions of non-Christians, among whom I definitely count myself. I have abandoned all forms and sects of the practicing Christian church. I have seen thousands of priests and bishops, and even the Pope himself transmogrified in front of our eyes into a worldwide network of thieves and perverts and sodomites who relentlessly penetrate children of all genders and call it holy penance for being born guilty in the eyes of the church. I have seen the juice box run amok in Palestine like bloodthirsty beasts with no shame, and 6 million brainless Baptists demanding the death penalty without any trial for pagans and foreigners and people like me who won't pray with them in those filthy little shacks they call churches. They are like a swarm of rats fleeing a swoop fire, and I want no part of them. Indeed, I have my own faith and my own gods to worship, and I have been doing it with a certain amount of distinction for 10,000 years, like some fine atomic clock with everlasting batteries. Whoops, I've wandered off on some kind of vengeful tangent here. We don't really need it now, do we? So let us save the wisdom for later. Page 17. It had been a few days since I first heard the weird story about gangs of armed, the book says Jews. It's by Hunter S. Thompson, not Adam Ellis. Roaming the neighborhood and beating the shit out of anybody who looked like an Arab. Good God, I muttered. They can't live at this altitude. There's something wrong with this story. That is why we decided to go to Thomasville in the first place. I wanted to check it out, and so did Anita, and so did the sheriff. As it turned out, the sheriff didn't need to deputize me because I had been certified deputy coroner of this county for 20 years, and in Colorado, the county coroner is the only public official with the legal power to arrest the sheriff. That is the key to my oft-uttered wisdom in politics and the art of controlling your environment. Indeed, never forget it, or you will become a victim of your environment. Rich nerds and lawyers will stomp all over you worse than any Arab, and you will be like the 8-ball on some country club billiards table near Atlanta. Whack! Over and out. No more humor. I got so much commentary on this, y'all. Page 23. Or maybe not. There is another school of thought that says Clinton would have been assassinated if he had been able to run for a third term. The Texas Mafia would never allow that to happen. My friend Curtis assured me he would have been jerked out like a bad tooth. Maybe you have been from Texas. Maybe you have to be from Texas to agree with talk like that, but I doubt it. Texas is not the only state full of wealthy freaks with sinister agendas. Some of them are friends of mine. In fact, and I have never doubted that just because they are nice people to have a few drinks with doesn't mean they won't do monstrous things. Cruelty and perversion are common jokes in the oil and orgy business. I'm not going to read that part. It's page 24 of Kingdom of Fear. It's talks about a movie. Page 26. Jim and Artie Mitchell were as bizarre a pair of brothers as I ever lived. I loved them both, but the sex business had made them crazy. They made millions of dollars off of sex and smuggled guns to the IRA when they weren't fondling naked girls or entertaining corrupt cops and politicians. Go down a couple paragraphs. That was my job. The night manager gig was only a cover for my real responsibility, which was to keep them out of jail, which was not easy. The backstairs politics of San Francisco has always been a Byzantine snake pit of treachery and overweening, bribery-driven corruption so perverse as to stagger the best minds of any generation. All political power comes from the barrel of either guns, vagina, or opium pipes, and people seem to like it that way. The charm of the city is legendary to the point of worship all over the world, with the possible exception of Kabul, New Orleans, and Bangkok. Go down a little bit. It's talking about this person in his house, all these people in his house. She meant nothing to me at the time. We get all kinds of people in this house, from common thugs and deviants to stupid thieves with hearts full of hate, and U.S. senators with amazing whores on their arms. Some arrive on private jets, and others drive stolen cars full of illegal drugs and weapons. It is an ugly mix at times, but I have learned to live with it, if only because I am a professional journalist and a writer of books about life in the weird lane, which is interesting in the Chinese sense, but not necessarily uplifting. It is not a criminal life, or a hurricane zoo of never-ending craziness. It may look that way from a distance, but I consider it eminently sane, and most of my friends agree. Sane is a dangerous word. It implies clear distinction, a sharp line between the sane and the insane that we all see clearly and accept as truth of nature. But it is not. No. The only real difference between the sane and the insane in this world is the sane have the power to have the insane locked up. That is the bottom line. Clang. Go immediately to prison, you crazy bastard. You should have been locked up a long time ago. You were a dangerous freak. I'm rich, and I want you castrated. Whoops, did I say that? Yes, I did, but we need not dwell so long on it that it develops into a full-blown tangent on the horrors of being locked up and gibbed like a tomcat in a small wire box, while we have enough grim things to worry about in this country as the 21st century unfolds. We have anthrax, smallpox, we have very real fears of being blasted into jelly in the privacy of our own homes by bombs from an unseen enemy, or by nerve gas sprayed into our drinking water, or even ripped apart with no warning by our neighbors' Rottweiler dogs. All these things have happened recently, and they will probably happen again. We live in dangerous times. Our armies are powerful, and we spend billions of dollars a year on new prisons, yet our lives are still ruled by fear. We are like pygmies lost in a maze. We are not at war. We are having a nervous breakdown. is this one I just highlighted. Paranoia is just another word for ignorance. Page 30. There is no such thing as paranoia, he told me once. Even your worst fears will come true if you chase them long enough. Beware, son. There is trouble lurking out there in that darkness, sure as hell. Wild beasts and cruel people, and some of them will pounce on your neck and try and tear your head off if you're not careful. It was a mean piece of wisdom to lay on a 10-year-old boy, but in retrospect, I think it was the right thing to say, and it definitely turned out to be true. I have wandered into the darkness many times in my life, and for many strange reasons that I still have trouble explaining, and I could tell you a whole butcher shop full of stories about the horrible savages, beasts that lurk out there, most of them beyond your wildest imagination of a 10-year-old boy, or even 20 or 30-year-old boy for that matter, or even beyond the imagination of a teenage girl from Denver being dragged from her family by a pack of diseased wolves. Nothing compares to it. The terror of a moment like that rolls over you like a rush of hot scum in a sewer pipe. Page 32. I'm just going to read the headline on this. Society housewife exposed in child sex scandal. Bloody aftermath shocks East End neighborhood. That's page 32. Page 37. We just happened to be right across the street from the main Louisville post office, and I thought, aha, I bet the draft office is still open there. So I went right across the street at lunch and volunteered myself for the draft, which a lot of my friends had done. It was kind of a nice resting place between stops, and there was a 6-month waiting list. I thought, oh fuck, time's way down, and I have to go back and see Almond Cook. I guess I highlighted that because I wanted to mark my place. Because it didn't matter. Page 40. No, sir, not a chance. Mr. Jones doesn't even pretend to know what's happening in America right now, and neither does anyone else. We have seen weird times in this country before, but the year 2000 is beginning to look super weird. This time, there really is nobody flying the plane. We're all living in dangerously weird times now. Smart people just shrug and admit they're dazed and confused. The only ones left with any confidence at all are the new dumb. It is the beginning of the end of our world as we knew it. Doom is the operative ethic. Page 41. There is always a rash of kidnappings and abductions of school children in the football months. Preteens of both sexes are traditionally seized and grabbed off the streets by gangs of organized perverts who traditionally give them as Christmas gifts to each other as personal sex slaves and playthings. That's page 41 in this book. This book was written in 2003. Most of these things are obviously wrong and evil and ugly, but at least they are traditional. They will happen. Your driveway will ice up, your furnace will explode, and you will be rammed in traffic by an uninsured driver in a stolen car. Now, my commentary on this. I grew up in, again, the Appalachian Mountains, in Cloudland Mountain. When I grew up in the early 90s, where I lived, we were 35 minutes away from a store, and there wasn't a lot of mixed races. Where I went to elementary, middle school, and before high school, I think there was one black girl in our class. There weren't a lot of Indian people or Middle Eastern people, or Arabs, as he calls it. They were in the country, but I didn't know before 9/11 that that was a thing. I knew immigration was a thing. I knew like people from other places were here, but I didn't know it was such a prevalent thing. To where when this book came out, I didn't know anything about this book, but I was living that. I was in 9th grade in 2001. And so like that was my boom into the world of these people are bad. And it was really wild. Because I had no exposure to a world outside of just my small town. And no exposure to culture, nothing, y'all. Like, my comfort food for me is macaroni. But when I read that book, as a young adult, I started to see that it was twisted everywhere. And it was twisted on a local level and on a higher level, and it had to be connected. You can't have that many bad guys that are just that bad and they don't know each other, you know? Needless to say, that propelled me down the road, and by 2013, 2014, I was following the End It movement pretty heavily, and, you know, will get in the way of any child being harmed. I love these guys with the clown mask and the dead pedophiles don't reoffend signs. Those guys are like, they're saying it loud. I don't care if they wear a mask or not. But this stuff has been going on forever, y'all. Forever. How do you stop it? Can we stop it? I don't know. I hope so.